a lot of companies overstating earnings in this country. And you could just look at it and you know. I mean, this is what I do for a living. I mean, I know a lot of these companies just overstating earnings. One day, there's going to be a day of comeuppance, okay? And it's going to be a very tough day, or a week. I agree a lot with what Stanley said, but you don't know when. You have real problems. I mean, not to go back to a thing, but I was reading something today, while I was working, that, what is it, Alliance Bernstein says that these ETFs are very unsafe, and they are. They are. These ETFs, to coin what Buffett said about the derivatives, they're weapons of mass destruction, because what stands behind an ETF are bonds that don't trade. I mean, ask Larry Fink, and he's a good guy, and I like him, and we're friends, but ask Larry Fink, if he doesn't think they're unsafe, is he going to guarantee liquidity? So when people want to get out of the ETF and they want to sell the bonds that are behind them, who the hell's going to buy those bonds? Is Larry Fink going to buy them?
Right.
Okay, that's my whole point. BlackRock's not going to buy them.
With friends like
but I'm
these,
not going to get into
between Bill Ackman and Larry Fink, these are great friends. Let me ask.
Hey, I never said anything bad about Ackman.
Well, let me just ask you.
But I'm not saying anything bad about Fink. Fink does what he does, and he does a great job. He sells that stuff, and it's a great job he does, and he does just what he should be doing. His job is to make money for BlackRock, and he does it. But I will tell you that these ETFs, it's not just ETFs. The whole system is really on a precipice to some extent.
But let me just go back to activism for one last second, and I'm going to take you out of it. I'm going to put it actually on Bill Ackman, which is to say that there are activists that are sometimes right and sometimes wrong. And I'm going to use Bill in that he has had great success at certain times, but Herbalife has obviously turned out, at least thus far, not to be that same success. And if you were to look at, for example, JCPenney, you could see real damage that took place as a result of that. Do you worry about making the wrong decision yourself?
Yeah, I think that we all make wrong decisions. However, I think in a certain way, over the years, I learned this, that if you're conservative somewhat and you have capital, that's why I really, frankly, got out of the hedge fund business. I did it for a while, and actually, I was a good guy. I got paid for being really ethical, because in 2008, when everybody wanted money, I didn't have to give it to them because, I had 3-year money. So I did it. I said, okay, I sort of made a deal with people. I bought them all out. It was the best buy, one of the best buys I ever made. I spent about $1.5 billion. Just anybody who wanted money, I gave it to them. And then the problem with the business and being an activist, it really doesn't go together. I don't believe. And I mean, I got good friends that are activists. They make a lot of money. But the problem is, if you don't have permanent capital, or relatively permanent capital, you get caught in this kind of quagmire where you're going to hit cycles. I mean, look, we're losing money in Chesapeake, for instance. Not a lot, because we made money the first time, right. But Transocean, we're losing a lot of money. Actually, the energy we did well because CVI worked out for us. But my point to you is that, in a strange way, some of these companies, I know it sounds completely anti-intuitive to you, and you're not going to believe me, but I don't really mind them going down, because I know in my mind that I'm going to buy more of them. I'm waiting to buy more of all these companies. And I know it sounds anti-intuitive, but I've done that all my life. When these companies go down, I have the money and the buying power to do it. Then you can laugh and say, well, what if it really gets a depression? But I tell you, I was a big buyer in 2008 and 2009 of a lot of companies.
So earlier today, Larry Fink was here, and he said that that they are very engaged with the companies in their portfolio in terms of they just don't do it publicly. And so I wanted to ask what the difference is in the two processes from your point of view. Why is it that it seems like there's fewer changes by asset managers as opposed to activists? And does it have something to do with a different process? Does it have something to do with the way a security analyst looks at things as opposed to maybe a private equity investor? Is it something about long-term strategy versus operating strategy in the short term? Well,
look, as I say, I like Fink. He's a good guy, but I do not think you could in any way categorize him as an activist who really, I know he disagrees with this, but I don't think they do very much. They're an index fund. Their job is to raise money for the index, And there's a bit of a different agenda here. You know, they're dealing with companies that give them money and buy their funds. So when they give them money and buy their funds, why are they going to throw them out? You know, so why should there be a threat? Now they say they do look at it and they do study it, but I have to tell you, I don't think they ever voted for me, and I've seen them somewhat. But to make another point, I think a lot of these other funds are becoming much more much more oriented toward activism, meaning I can't tell you, a lot of these funds call us up and say, you ought to be looking at this company or that company, you know, because these funds are overweighted or underweighted against the index funds, which is helping the activism so much.